Hi friends, welcome to my channel. My name is Corinne and you have found CoryCreates. This is a channel about all creative endeavors that I pursue, including cross stitch, sewing, gardening, and anything else that these hands get into. So thank you for joining me today. Welcome back to those of you that have been here before. This is FlossTube number 2, and today is Saturday, May 21st, 2022. So I'm super excited to be with you again today. Thank you for taking a little time out to join me and see what I'm up to. I'm just excited. I thank those of you that have reached out to me over the last couple of weeks with your comments and just your encouragement. I have looked at every comment. I appreciate them so much. I have a couple of shout outs that I'm going to give towards the end of this video, but thank you all. This is just my little contribution to FlossTube and the YouTube community. So I'm just excited that some of you were interested to watch and see what I'm doing. And I hope to continue to provide something for you to watch while you stitch or whatever else it is that you are doing. So thank you for those of you that have not been here. If this is your first time, this is my number 2 video. My number 1 video featured all of my WIPS. So if you're interested in seeing that, go ahead and check that out. We are finishing up the school year here in St. Louis. I told you all I am a family consumer science teacher, and we have 3 days left of school, and they are all half days, which is really nice. The finals are given on 3 consecutive half days, so I am on the downhill stretch. My kids are doing well. My son actually doesn't get out until June 3rd, but we are finishing up the school year, and I'm especially excited about that, you all, because I'm looking forward to more stitching. So I'm really excited about getting to really tackle some of my WIPs that I've shown previously and my Heaven and Earth Design Start. I've got a couple other things I might start on, which I might share later on in this video as well. Today, it is overcast. It's finally started brightening up. You all, I've been trying to do this video all morning. I couldn't do it because it was thundering and lightning. So I think it finally has eased up enough that I can get this in. But today I'm going to be sharing with you my FFOs, or my fully finished objects. I have quite a few, and many of them are large. I started stitching, like I said in my previous video, when I was in middle school. And back then, I kind of felt like it was artwork. So that is why so many of them are big. But I'm going to take you through them chronologically in the order that I did them. And hopefully I'll share with you my 2 WIPs and my new Heaven and Earth Design Start, which I'm pretty excited about that too. So if you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments again. Also, please like, subscribe. I'm really enjoying getting to make contact with you. I have never had stitchy friends that did kind of cross stitch with me. So this is exciting to make personal contact with some of you all and be able to share what I do with all of you. So let's get into it. FFOs, and hopefully I'll also touch on my plans coming up. So let's get into it. FFOs. My first FFO is my very first project that I ever completed. This print is titled Tea Party, and I finished it in, wait for it, 1989. Okay, I was in high school. Okay, I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school. And I think I mentioned in my first video that I started cross stitching in middle school. And as a matter of fact, I asked my mom Mother's Day weekend, I asked her, what did she remember about me starting to cross stitch? And she said, I came to her one day and said, I wanted something to do. I wanted some kind of craft to do. And so that's how And she said she suggested cross stitch, and that's how I got started in it. So I thought that was interesting, and that was kind of what I thought. But I wanted to ask her just to be sure. So this is one of my very first projects. I told you all I had tried to do one of those precious moments, and I actually found the book that it's in. This one right here, this little guy down here crying because he got a bad report card, I guess. I tried that, and she even said she remembers I got off somewhere in that design by 1 stitch. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't find the mistake, and it just drove me nuts. I'm gonna be honest with you all, to this day, I'm still that same way. Okay, I finally have learned to just put a stitch in there and keep it moving. But it took me a while to get to that point. I don't consider myself OCD or even a perfectionist, but I like to be right and make everything be correct. So I've had to work on that over the years. So this is called the Tea Party. It came from a magazine, the Cross Stitch and Country Crafts magazine from January, February 1986. And this is what it looked like in the magazine. Okay, hopefully you can see that. And this was my final result. Okay. And they're all pretty big, you all. As I mentioned before, I like to do big projects, and you will see the majority of these are big. But this is my first one. I signed my name. I'm gonna back up so you can get there. Okay, there it is. I always just sign my first name. I think Corinne is pretty distinctive in the way that I spell it. And so that's usually all I sign is my first name. And then I put the date, which was 1989. And again, I was either a sophomore or a junior in high school at that time. But I love her still. This hung on my daughter's wall in her bedroom until she became a teenager. And then I relented and let her take it down. But I just like the detail. You see her hair was very detailed. The only thing I would have done differently is I would have changed her skin tone. But in my early days of cross stitch, I wasn't confident or prolific enough in order to be able to do that. But I still love her. And she's probably one of my greatest accomplishments because she really got me going on cross stitch. Just the fact that I was able to do it. I love just everything about it. She's got some lazy daisy stitches on her sleeve and on her hem. That was my first time ever doing those. Even though I did start off embroidering when I was younger. But this is a 14 count Ada, I believe. I've noticed since I took this out, it's got a few stains on the fabric, which have just appeared since I took it off her wall, because they definitely were not there when it was hanging on her wall. So I may reframe it, I don't know. And this I framed myself. There was a place called Frame Factory here in St. Louis that I would go to, and you could bring a frame or buy one of theirs, and then they had somebody walk you through the framing process and showed you how to do it. And that cut down on the cost. So that was usually what I did. I have quite a few of these I did that way. So that was Tea Party from a Cross Stitch and Country Craft magazine. And that was my first finished project. The next project came from Paula Vaughn. I've mentioned her in my last video that I had a lot of projects that I've done. I have at least 2 in this stack that are from this book. But this is the best of Paula Vaughn. You see, I got it at Walmart. So you know that was many years ago because they don't sell any cross-stitch patterns anymore. But I've done 3 out of this book, and 2 of them are fully finished. So the first one is 3 Sisters. And I did this because there are 3 girls in my family, okay? And this one was completed 1991, which was probably my senior year in high school. But here she is. And this was the first piece I ever entered into our local needlework show, okay? It was called the St. Charles Counted Thread Show. and I entered this in 2001, but I completed it in 1991. Okay, so there she is. This is a 14 count, either cream or ivory Ada. Okay, I was definitely a 14 count person back then, and I was definitely an Ada person back then. Hopefully that glare is not too bad. This one was also framed by me. I do not remember where I got the frame from. I want to say I thrifted it, but don't quote me on that for sure. But that is Three Sisters by Paula Vaughn. And I just like the dresses. I told you guys last video, I'm not a big people stitcher, but I really liked this one. So that's my second FFO, and that probably completes the stuff I did in high school. These next 4 I did in college. I went to the University of Missouri, Columbia, and my roommate and I distinctly remember this, Golden Girls and Designing Women came on every day, and then Jeopardy. And that was my stitching time. I had a beanbag chair, and I parked in front of that TV, and I stitched every day. And that usually was like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So my classes were done. That was my downtime, decompress, regroup time. And teddy bears was something I loved. So this was one of the first ones I did when I was in college. I'm gonna try to get that glare off. You all, it's been raining cats and dogs all day. It's been thundering and lightning. I'm in a break right now with the weather, so that's why I was trying to get this done before I start thundering again. But this is Teddy Bear Reunion by Leisure Arts. And I loved it. And 1994 must have been a good year for me because I did 3 pictures in that year. I talked to you all last time about the back stitching. You can see the back stitching was no joke on this one, but I enjoyed it. So I completed this in April of 1994. And I think I was like maybe a sophomore or a junior in college. Again, I just signed my name, my first name, and then I put the date. I always have a book of alphabets because I like to do different writing and cross stitch. So that was my first college finish, 1994. Now this next one was probably, this was a big deal. It was done on 14 count black Ada. I haven't done anything on black Ada since. But this is White Tiger by Ross Designs. I do not have the pamphlet anymore. I don't have the one for Teddy Bear Reunion either. And I remember that was pretty dog-eared, so I think I just gave it away. But this is White Tiger, one of my favorite animals. Black Ada. And again, this was completed, and I think the date down there next to my name is October 1994. So you all, I told you in my last video, I'm a monogamous stitcher. So I stitch pretty fast, okay? And this one was my pride and joy. And I remember my dad was so impressed with it that he got it framed for me because it has a Michael sticker on the back. So this is one of the few I did not frame. But I really liked the frame that I chose. It had kind of like a authentic, rustic, not rustic, that's not the right word, organic feel to it. Like the jungle or something. That's why I picked it. Sorry about that glare. I can't get the glare off of this one. But that is White Tiger. And I remember buying the print. I also bought Panther. There was a Black Panther instruction pamphlet, and I bought that one as well. And I still have it. I may do it one day, okay? And the only reason is because I don't have to do it on black this time. I'm definitely gonna do that on a very pale white or some pale color. Another thing I loved about this one, the green eyes, and that's why I chose the green matte for it, okay? So I love this piece. I entered this in that same St. Charles Counted Thread show, and it got an honorable mention. I do remember that, and I have my green ribbon downstairs somewhere. So that one's my pride and joy, and I'm always going to try and find a place for it to hang. All right, up next. This was a kit, I believe. But this was just my college emblem, one of the many that Mizzou has. But I put my name on there. That's my maiden name. And then class of 1996, which is when I graduated from Mizzou. But I did this one, I don't know if you can see it above the I, the last I in Missouri. I put the date that I actually completed this chart, and that was 1994. So that was 3 things I got done in 1994, and I did them each individually. I did not work on them simultaneously. So I did a lot of stitching in 1994. But that is the Mizzou paw from the University of Missouri, Columbia. And again, it was a kit. I think I still have the instructions, but I don't have the packaging that the kit was. This next one is the last one I did in college. Also, I did this one in 1996, though. I know that for sure. And this is my sorority crest. Again, I'm a proud member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and this was our crest. This came in a kit, okay, and I actually still had the packaging from the kit. Heirloom Needlecrafts. They used to sell these in all of the, bookstores and paraphernalia stores in Columbia. And I remember I got this in downtown Columbia. I kept the threads because I think in the future I'm going to stitch this for a couple of my line sisters. But this is the sorority crest. I framed this one myself as well. I bought the frame from the Frame Factory. That was the name of the company here in St. Louis that used to do this. But I actually did the actual framing process. This is 14 count white Ada. And again, it came in a kit, and I completed it in 1996. So I love this one too. This one stays out. It's in our great room on the bookshelves, and I finished my husband's. He is Omega Psi Phi, and so I'm going to put them near each other or on opposite sides of the fireplace on opposite bookcases. But they will be displayed together when I get his done, and I'm hoping to do that as soon as school is out, go get it framed. I like the framing process myself, and like I said, it does cut down on your cost. So I believe the Great Frame Up is a company here that does the same type of thing. So I'm going to look into that place and see if I can get a purple frame to do my husband's in, so we can have complementary designs displayed. All right, this next one is really big. This is the other Paula Vaughn that I fully finished. And I did this for my mother for Mother's Day, I believe in 2003. But this one is huge, so hopefully I can fit it all in the screen. But this is Cherished Moments by Paula Vaughn. And I was thinking I don't really have a distinctive style, but I love romantic feminine pictures. And flowers usually symbolizes that for me. So that is what this is. This is Cherished Moments. It is done on, I believe, a Jobelin. 28 count again. That's pretty much all I really work on is 28 count, even though now I'm trying to broaden my horizons. Let me back up and see if I get the whole thing. But you see, it's huge. Okay. I also entered this into that cross stitch show in 2002, and I don't remember placing or anything like that, but it was done through Patches Craft Center, which became Stitches Etc., which is the craft store I eventually was working in, and I think I was working there when I entered this at that time. So again, this is Cherished Moments by Paula Vaughn, and I just love the vase. There's all those little heirlooms down there. And again, I signed it with my name and the year 2002. But I gave it to her. Well, now that I think about it, I think I gave it to her in 2002 as well. Okay. I knew it was Mother's Day. And yeah. So that is my biggest one by Paula Vaughn. I have one more in a frame. And this was done in 2003, finished in the fall 2003. This was a gift for my husband when we got married. We got married in 2003. And I gave this to him the night of our rehearsal dinner as his gift from me. And my husband loves lighthouses. And so I made this to go in his eventual man cave. But the name of it is the Portland Head Lighthouse. Okay. I believe it was a Stony Creek book. For the life of me, I could not find this book. And I find it hard to believe that I gave it away, but it's possible because, I mean, how many lighthouses am I going to do? Okay. But this is it. I did frame this one myself as well. But that is Portland Head Lighthouse. And I'll take a look at it and tell you what I don't remember exactly what I did. But this was my wedding gift to my husband. And I'll back up so you can see everything. At the bottom, it says, for Barry on our wedding day. And then something about love, Korean or something like that. And then I put the date. And I think the date I finished it, I don't know the date I finished it, but I put our wedding date, which was November 1st of 03. Yep, Love Corinne, and I put Love Corinne, and I put all my names, my middle name, my maiden name, and my new married name. But for Barry on our wedding day, November 1st, 2003. So when he gets his own man cave, hopefully in the next house, he's gonna hang it up somewhere, I think. So that is all of my big fully finishes. I have two more to share with you. And they are two more for other people. These were for my children. I fell in love with the Kooler Heirloom Stocking series. And when I started seeing them, and I believe it was when people started bringing them into the shop to get them fully finished. That was one of the big things that the lady that did the fully finishing in the shop did. She did Christmas stockings. And when I saw these coming in there, I said, what are these and how can I get them? And they were out of print at the time. Like I said, this was in early 2002. I hadn't even had any children yet, but I knew when I had some kids, I wanted to do these designs. So I remember getting the one I did for my daughter. A lady at the shop made a photocopy of her pages in her book. Yes, I did copyright infringement, I'm sorry. But she gave it to me. Because when I saw her design, I said, where did you get these? And she said, I think the book is out of print. And I didn't ask her for it or anything, but she must have asked the owner of the shop my name. And she ended up bringing them back and left them for me. A couple of them that she had, because she knew I wanted a boy and a girl design, because I didn't know what I was going to have at that time. But these are done on 25 count. I believe it's potato Lugana. This was my first time working on Lugana, and I fell in love with it. This first design is the Sugar and Spice stocking. Okay, and I think also at the time these were gathered together in a book. And after I started doing this first one, I ended up finding many of the others in magazine form, which is how they were originally printed, I believe. But in the magazines, it never says who the designer is. It wasn't until they got put together in their own book that I knew who the designer was. And I believe Better Homes and Gardens did the designs and put them together in a book. So anyway, let me show you. This is Layla's stocking. I gave this to her sometime in 2010, 2011, and I did the finishing myself. When you sew, you tend to just do the finishing a lot of times yourself, unless it's something you don't think you can handle. Now, I have a little frame going on up here where my hand is. I think I'm just gonna cover that with like a big bow or something, because I don't want to take it apart. This is velvet, okay? I did it in velvet on the outside, and then it has a velvet ruffle that I made, and it's lined in velvet, okay? But I learned, because I think lining it in velvet kind of took away some of my space. So you'll see on Trenton's, I didn't line it in velvet. But this is the Sugar and Spice stocking. And I just thought it was perfect for her. It has a little tea set, the doll carriage, the dress. And this part right here, I think they call them, you can make them into a brooch if you stitch them separately. These were over one. So I thought that was interesting. And those did take quite a bit of time. I had never done over one before. And then the dollhouse over here, but this just screamed girly little girl. So that's why I wanted to do this one for her. And then of course I put her name at the top. So this is Sugar and Spice Heirloom Stocking in the series. And I don't know how many eventually were done in the series, but it turns to find out I now own 8 of the patterns. And most of them are in the original form from the magazine. So that's Sugar and Spice. This next one I did for my son in 2016. And I know for sure it was 2016 because I documented my progress on Instagram, my Instagram page, which is CoryCreates 08. But this is Holiday Study Stocking. Same designer and everything. But I wanted to do this one for him because of the train. I love the train and the toys and the box. The instrument, he wants to play the trumpet. So there's a trumpet down here, and I just thought that was great for him. He was about, I guess in 2016, he would have been about 4, going on 5. Or maybe he was 5, yes. And let me tell you, this one had some beads on it, okay? And on that previous stocking, there were a lot of French knots. The doll's eyes had French knots and things of that nature. I wasn't doing it again. These are beads, black seed beads. The knobs on the desk right here, black seed beads, okay? The eyes on Santa Claus, his buttons, they were just everywhere. And I said, no ma'am, not doing it this time, okay? So seed beads, if you don't like French knots and they gotta be black, seed beads is the way to go, okay? I think the knob right here on the cabinet, yep, it was a no-go. The second time around, I learned my lesson. I know how to do French knots. I don't enjoy them, okay? Because it seems like I have to do it like 2 or 3 times before I get it. And I like this little garland here that was made out of the seed beads as well. This truck on top. There were just so many details that I just loved about this. And let me tell you, he loved it too. My son is a tough customer, okay? When he knows you're making him something, he gonna check on your progress. And I remember him sitting next to me on the couch, and he would just rub his little hand on the stocking because he was just so excited. And I have a picture of him just cheesing up on the mantle, putting it up for the first time. And that was 2016. I did it in a dark blue velvet, but I lined it with muslin this time. And I kept the finishing more simple than his sister's. But he loves it. They both look forward to getting them out and hanging them up themselves. His is always on the left and hers is always on the right. So they both enjoy them, hanging them up very much. Now, I said I had 8 of them. I'll tell you which ones I have. Home for Christmas. I also have the Holiday Workshop, which was 1990. Stitcher Studio, 1989. Holiday Kitchen, for some strange reason, I have 2 copies of that one. 87, The Music Room, 91, Holiday Study, which was this one, which is 1998, and this is the magazines that came in. And there was usually like a more plain stocking and then the elaborate stocking. And when you get done, they're basically almost full coverage. I mean, they're very densely stitched. So, and then I also have Gardener's Delight, which came out in Better Homes and Gardens magazine in 2002. So I have quite a bit of them. I don't remember which FlossTuber I watched recently. I'll try to put her name down on the screen if I remember. But she talked about, you can get these designs, I think, online now from Kooler Studios directly. I'll put that information down in the notes if I can find it. But I do remember it was a FlossTuber, and I'll put her name on the screen if I can find her name, who that was that's currently working on one of these, and she got a PDF. So in case you're interested, I will try to give you that information. But I do know they all came in a big book at some point. One more finish. And this one is when I was working at Stitches, etc. The owner of the shop asked those of us that were working to make a name tag for ourselves. And this is the one I made for myself, and I've kept it all these years. But this is Blackberry Patch. It was a free design from the Victoria Sampler. And I got it because even back then I had a thing with bees. I love bees and gardening and things of that nature. So I knew I wanted some type of flowers or something. But these are blackberries on there. And this was actually supposed to be an Altoid tin topper. I guess you make like a little sewing kit with the Altoid tin, and then you design something to go on the top. Well, I changed it and made it into a name tag. And I just glued a backing on it and some lace out of my stash. I remember I still have this big old basket of lace down in the basement. But then I just found an alphabet, or actually this came with an alphabet, because I actually have it was a free chart on the Victoria Sampler website, victoriasampler.com. So that is the Blackberry Patch, and it's an Altoid tin design. And this measures about 2 by 3 inches. So that's my last finish. Thank you for hanging in there with me. Let me pause, and then I'll be ready for my new start and my 2 WIPS. So my new start, I mentioned it in my previous video. And if you guys have not seen my previous video, please go back and watch it. I went over all of my WIPS that I'm eventually gonna get to. But I'm doing good. I'm staying focused and getting some of them done. But today I have a new start. I showed my first Heaven and Earth design finish in my last video. And I have already decided I will always have one of these in my rotation. So the next one I'm working on is the Vintage Baker by Heaven and Earth Designs. Aimee Stewart is the designer. This particular design has 300,000, I think 600 stitches in it, okay? And my mini that I did the first time only had 79,000. So this one is 3 times bigger, and I'm feeling the difference, okay? I'm not even 1% yet, you all, but here is my start. I've only been working on this. I started at Mother's Day. I decided to do my start on Mother's Day. And since then, I have done about 2,000, a little over 2,000 stitches. So here we are with my start. I just left it in the Q-Snap for today. I have not started taking my progress pictures like I did with my last one, but this is the cherry pie in the top. I guess that's the left-hand corner, the cherry pie up top. So this is my new start, 25 count, antique white Lugana 1/1. This is the grime guard that I made. I think I'm gonna have to get a bigger one though, because look at all this fabric I'm wrangling, you all. I have those magnets that you can get on Amazon that are actually cord ties, are the ones I've seen them advertised as, but I think now some companies are starting to advertise them as for stitching. But they're cord ties. I use them on my refrigerator. But there's so much fabric here that I'm wrangling. And my husband got me a lap stand for Valentine's Day. And I'm not going to show it to you today. I'll probably show it to you next time. But the way the lap stand is situated, the part that holds it is on this side. Well, my hand kept bumping it. And it was kind of annoying and even a little uncomfortable. So because I was trying to start my design up this way. So what I did was I added some fabric here, just some scrap fabric from my scrap bin. I just sewed a piece of fabric on this side all the way down, and then on the top all the way down. That way I'd have more room to scoot it over so I could have the design start more in the middle, and that way my hand's not hitting the arm of my lap stand. And it's working out much better now, because it was a little uncomfortable and awkward, and I'm like, well, let's see what we can do. So I added that fabric on, and I just stitched it down. Here's the what it looked like. It was the rest of it. And then now it's perfect. It's a good position, and I don't have to worry about hitting my hand up against the lap stand as I'm working. But this is Vintage Baker. Again, this grime guard, if I find where I got the instructions, it was just a tutorial that I found online. And I'm going to make another one because I need it to be bigger so I can stretch it over more of this excess fabric. Okay, that way it'll hold it a little better. This is an 11 by 11 Q-snap. I'm going to invest into a 17 by 17 and then combine it and have it 11 this way and 17 this way. And that way I can have more space and it won't have as much fabric scrunched up underneath there. But so far, I'm very pleased. 2 weeks, 2,000 stitches. That's about how much I average, about 1,000 a week, because I don't really stitch that much during the week when school is in. But now that school is getting ready to be out, I'm planning to stitch every single day if possible. So that is my new Heaven and Earth Designs start, and I'm super excited about it. All right, my WIPs. I'm going to start off with the small one. This is Friendship Begins by Lizzie Kate. It's a snippet. And I am doing this on a mystery linen. And here we are. I only have to finish the word with and the word friendship, and this will be done. This was my kind of my travel piece, my lunchtime at work piece. I probably won't finish it because this week we're not really having lunch. We're having like not meetings, but I know we're going to lunch a couple days, and then we have a end of the year thing. So I won't have time to finish it at work, but it will be finished before the end of the month. I can promise you that. So all I have is the word friendship, finish the word with, and I think there's 2 hearts that go here on either side of begins with. So that's it. So you can see what the finished one is supposed to look like. But I'm super happy with it. This will probably be a pillow. The industrial arts teacher, wood shop teacher at my school gave me a big bucket of sawdust. Then that is what I plan to do some experimenting with, how to stuff some pillows with it. Because it's free. And I think that would be a good thing to give it a try. And I know it's clean wood because they made it a point to, put it in there and keep it for me. I just gave them a Home Depot bucket. And yes, I made my daughter walk all the way down to the industrial arts department with this big old Home Depot bucket in the middle of the day. She was not happy, but it got down there. So I'm going to try that sawdust and see how it works on this project. But this is some type of 28 count mystery linen. And I don't particularly seek out linen, but I didn't mind it on this because it was small. So my last WIP is Ride to Dreamland by Stony Creek. And let me show you again what it looked like. I'm working on the back stitching now. All of the regular stitching in Krynic is complete. And it's this one right here. So let me show you where I am. Not a whole lot of progress, but there's a little bit. I've just started on that shaded horse, this one right here. And the pole next to him, I did that this week. And then I've done some of the legs down here. And now I just have to get the tail and the mane on this shaded one, and then the back saddle of those 2 main horses. It's a lot of back stitching in there, so I think that's why it's taken me so long. But this is where I am. And again, there's no back stitching in any of these flowers, which is a blessing, because this back stitching is getting a little thick. And plus, I'm working on this on paper. On my Heaven and Earth designs, I use Pattern Keeper, and I'm a little spoiled now. And I really enjoy Pattern Keeper, but I know these I could not do on Pattern Keeper because of the back stitching. I don't think it picks up back stitching. So that is A Ride to Dreamland by Stony Creek. And I'm thinking probably no later than Father's Day, I should be able to finish that. I have not worked on it as diligently because, as you can see, I got my new start, so that's where my focus has been. But I have, you know, got a string, a thread out, and put it in there. So maybe I'll just do that, especially now the school's getting ready to be out. I want to do like a morning stitch. I know some of you out there have like a morning stitch that you just do a little bit on, and then you have your main stitching that you work on in the evening. I usually just work in the evenings, but now that I'm going to be home, I'm going to see which one I want to do as a morning stitch. And maybe that'll be my WIP time. The ones that are WIPs, those will be the ones that I work on briefly in the morning and then switch to my main focus of my Heaven and Earth design in the evening. So I just came up with that, but I think that sounds like a plan. Okay. Let's see. I have a couple of possible new starts that I'm going to go over. And then that'll be it. So this is Citrus Topiary. And I think I'm going to tackle this one as kind of like my summer stitch. But this came from Stitcher's World magazine. I do not know what issue because none of the pages, I tore this out of the magazine before I got rid of the magazine. But it says in the little intro blurb that this is part of a series, and the other parts of the series were done in November 1998 and March 1999 issues. So I'm assuming this is after that, probably 99, late 99 or 2000. But it is Stitcher's World magazine. But Citrus Topiary, I just love the colors. I was thinking about dyeing a fabric and maybe doing a very, very pale yellow, but I don't know. Maybe just stick with white. I haven't decided. But I have chosen my fabric. This is a 28 count. Oh dear. What is it? Monaco. I've never worked with Monaco before, so that's why I kind of wanted to do it. 28 count. I've already serged my edges. It's ready to go. This is a little bigger than the design, so I might just leave it all in one big piece and then just cut off the excess when it's time to frame it. But that is Citrus Topiary from Stitcher's World magazine. So that's one possible new start. Here's the project bag. It's going to be housed in, I showed a bunch of project bags last time, but this is the one for this one. I just love damask print, and that's what's on the inside. I have this metallic pink with the gold rickrack. I think I got this gold rickrack. It was in a scrap bag that I got from a thrift store. And then this fabric, this Diva fabric, which I love heels, you all. This came from Walmart. Okay, if you have a fabric section, and I think they're reducing down a lot of these fabric sections in these Walmarts. But this is where I got it from, and I know they still carry them because I've seen them there recently. But that is my project bag for that project. And then the last one, I've got a couple others, but I'm just going to talk about this one. My son, he's ready for a new project. And so I have chosen Wakanda Forever for him. I purchased this from Park Hopper Bart. You can find him on Instagram, and I will try to link him below. And it is purchased through Gumroad. Okay, and you can find the information on his Instagram. But I had seen another stitcher working on this. I can't remember who, but she was almost finished with it. And I was like, that looks like a pretty easy stitch. My son's birthday is in November. So I'm thinking I'm going to make this into a flat fold for him. I bought some 14 count Aida from Hobby Lobby, but I think I'm going to order some 16 count Aida from 123 Stitch and do that instead. Just because I think a flat fold would be better if it's smaller. I think in the 14 count, it'll turn out to be about an 8 by 10, but I think I want it a little smaller. And then here's the project bag I made for him. Marvel Comics. My son loves Marvel Comics, and he gets that straight from his dad. They're like two kids. But I made a quilt for him out of this backing fabric. That was the main part. That was the other thing I made for him that he was very attentive about my progress on. But that's where I will store his project. And there's one other Black Panther project that I've seen on Etsy that I'm thinking about buying and maybe doing kind of a companion piece for him. But I haven't bought it yet, so we will see. I have some other things that I have picked up, but I think I'm going to wait on those. So I think that's it for today, you all. I'm trying to keep these a little shorter because y'all don't want to hear me talking that much yet. Or if at all. So I'm going to try to keep them down a little bit. The last one, I had to do it twice. I had to cut it later after I'd already posted it because it was just too long. So I'm going to do my best not to talk your head off in the future. But I did want to mention a few people that I heard from this week that I wanted to talk about. Stitching in the Bluegrass. She contacted me and left my first comment on my last video. It was just an encouragement that she took the time to do that. She is a FlossTuber, so please go check her out. And she's also on Instagram. But Stitching in the Bluegrass. Thank you, sis, for your comment. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you reaching out and encouraging me. I really do. The other person I wanted to make sure I definitely mentioned was Becky. She goes by the Crafty Librarian. And she is a former FACS teacher right here in the state of Missouri. She sent me a kind email kind of telling me a little bit about herself. She also went to Mizzou like me. So Becky, thank you. I really appreciate you reaching out to me. And I hope we can talk in the future because she says now she's encouraged to get back into stitching. So I definitely want her to share with me what she's working on. So thanks a lot, Becky. I appreciate you. Kitty WIPS. I've watched both of your videos and she is a hoot, you all. Check her out. But she said, I need to start a Mirabilia. Guess what, sis? I'm already a step ahead of you. I've been looking at Mirabilias. I think Needleberry Stitcher had a Mirabilia parade. Plus, she's been working on Roses of Provence, I think. And I love that one. So I've got a list of not just Mirabilia, but Bella Filipinos that I'm thinking about starting. I don't know why I haven't to this point, but if I do them, I'm probably going to do some conversions. So that's why I want to choose wisely which one I start with, because that's probably going to be a task in making sure my conversions look good. And then finally, two Jens, Spunky Jen and Jen O on Instagram, both messaged me on Instagram with encouragement as well. So I just thank all of those ladies. Thank all of you for your comments. I've been trying to read every single last one. And I just appreciate you all taking the time out your day to spend some time with me in this form. Okay, this is a new thing for me, but I am enjoying it. It takes more preparation. Well, I shouldn't be surprised it takes preparation because, you know, those of you that are teachers, you know how much preparation it takes just to talk for 30 minutes in front of some kids. So you definitely got to come prepared for the grown folks that you're probably talking to on FlossTube. So thanks again, you all. Please like, subscribe. You can follow me on Instagram at CoryCreates, all one word, lowercase, 0808. Check me out there as well. I'm getting a little better about posting my stitching over there, but I know I have previous projects that I've covered before. But check me out over there. And next time, I think I'm going to share my finishes that are not fully finished. I have a handful of those that I have not fully finished yet. My plans are just to continue to work on those two WIPs as well as the post office WIP for my dad for Father's Day. And we will see what happens. So until next time, you all stay safe out there. Start enjoying this warmer weather. And to my fellow teachers, stay strong to the end. I only got 3 more days. I don't know how many you have, but stay strong and start enjoying this summertime that is upon us. Have a good one, you all. Be blessed.